Hi everybody, welcome to Dice Camera Action, our little D&D show, set in Waterdeep.
A little D&D show that's now twice as big than ever before.
That's right, yes. So,
a little D&D show that could.
Apologies for starting a little bit late. I had a meeting that clashed with this game and I couldn't get out of it early, but here we are. And Holly's connection's a little sketchy right now, so if she sort of spazzes out on us, don't blame her, blame air.
Yep.
All right. First, before we hit the ground running here, just want to say happy welcome to our three glorious guests.
Hi.
Hi.
Congrats. Thanks for
Thank you so much for having us on.
Hooray!
Way! And previously in Dice Camera Action, the Waffle crew arrived in Waterdeep, got into a few scrapes with the Xanathar's Guild and the Zentarum, but set themselves up in a nice house owned by one Magnus Burnsides, and have since gone through numerous renovations, leading to this point when Strix could finally open up her pastry shop, her bakery. And I think it's also going to be like a bar, is that right? Hello?
Yeah, sorry. Why is my connection bad? I'm going to throw a table. Yes.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a bar because Paulton was going to have a bar where the I don't know what it's called. Kegger. That's not a kegger.
All right. So Holly, I assume there's going to be some sort of signage out front, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. There's going to be the symbol of the Chickenfoot Coven outside hanging from, one of those rustic inn looking signs.
Yeah. Okay. And with probably like a little, what do you call those sort of wooden placard stands that just sort of have like menu items or pithy sayings or something out front with an arrow pointing to the front door?
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the pithy sayings change to one morbid thing after the next. If you're here, you got that today.
I can just hear the bird.
I know. I'm sorry. My
That's
life
all
is
right.
in shambles.
That's all right. And you also, the bunch of you had your first encounter with Dr. Serenity Theximoff, who's sort of taken on the work of being your psychic exorcist. That didn't go all so well, but there's hopefully you're all better people this week. So, to kick things...
There's a big mood.
And as you recall, you have a silent business partner named Alcoria Stonemarrow, a dwarf wizard who has basically been helping you get your business off the ground and has been funding some of the renovations of your establishment with the goal that once business gets up and running, she'll be paid back swiftly for her time and effort. And DF, you've been keeping... Alcoria has been feeding DF papers of just receipts so that he can track the expenses as well. Many of those papers got jumbled up, but DF has recollected them and tucked them away somewhere safe.
For the record, he hates it. They're not cool like maps or directions or anything. It's just like boring math and stuff. He's just like, ugh.
Yeah, with dwarvish chicken scratches all over them.
Ugh, even worse.
Yep. So, our guests. Each of you is going to have to make your way to the Waffle House to see Strix. You know the way, having dropped off your resumes some weeks ago, and you are delighted that you have been asked back for your final interview. Now, having lived in Waterdeep for 1D100 days, you kind of know how to get around in this big city. Despite Waterdeep's size, it's not so big that you couldn't walk across it in the course of a day. And most people get about in the city by walking. But sometimes, if they're feeling lazy or if they have to get somewhere quickly, The primary method of transportation is by coach or dray. There's all kinds of coaches. There's your traditional large coach that seats many. There's hansoms that basically take 2 passengers and have a driver stationed behind them, like an old English horse wagon. And then there's the big double-decker bus-like vehicles that are pulled by horses down the street. And they're sort of the popular, public, and cheap conveyance. But they get where they need to go quickly. So I'll start first with Critter, our little kobold. So Critter, kobolds in the city are generally regarded at a glance as being dog-like, which is to say people will normally pay attention to a lone kobold making his way through the city, much as they would a stray dog, unless that kobold is dressed like a human being, in which case they might think, oh, that's a really ugly halfling. But how would you like to get to the Waffle House?
So Critter lives mostly in the sewers and like kind of comes up to the street level at night. You know, he doesn't like the sun very much. So I would kind of imagine he would try to like he's more familiar with the sewer network in the city rather than the streets.
Yeah.
So he would probably try to find his way through the sewers and to the Waffle House that way. And if there is still a hole in the basement, he might find his way up through that. If that's been fixed, he might pop out a manhole nearby.
Okay.
I know we fixed the bottom floor at the very least.
Right. You've still got the passage to the sewer in the basement. But Dia, you could have probably had it either gated or sort of plastered over if you wanted it to.
I would imagine it would be sealed off in some capacity with either a locked door or a gate or something there.
Okay.
That way our Dwarven Minotaur friend down there has something to defend.
Okay. For the sake of argument, let's just say it's like an iron wrought gate with a padlock.
Yeah. So, something pretty simple. That's fine.
Okay. So Critter, you know the sewers well enough to get yourself to a manhole cover that is at one end, basically the east end of Troll Skull Alley. And you can pop out of that sewer, and it's really just about maybe 30 yards away is the entrance to the Waffle House.
Okay. Is it daytime?
You were asked to come at daytime, yes.
Okay. I'll pop out the manhole cover. Just
Okay.
Scrabble up. Come out on ground there.
You see as you look around you, some distance away, there are a couple, or actually 3 halfling musicians who are sort of getting set up to play some music. It's springtime, so it's good weather for them. You can hear the sounds of kids playing, but you don't see them, so they're some distance away. There's nobody else around.
Okay. I'll put my hood up over my head so that my cloak, so that the sun doesn't get in my eyes, and then sort of keep my eyes down on the ground as I rush towards the door. Okay. And then when I get up to it, just do a quick little knock, knock, knock.
All right. Prolock, you are a Loxodon, a highly unusual creature to be seen in this world. Do you want to talk a little bit about where your character came from?
So he was originally from a different plane, and just it's sort of he runs a bed and breakfast / inn with his parents and his 2 siblings, but being the oldest of the 3, and there's plenty of help and it's a booming business, was just kind of, this is like a sabbatical, kind of a finding a way, and they're pretty well off with money, so he made his way just to a bustling city where he knew there was a lot of commerce, pretty easily, just through hired hands, and has been living here for some time, joining the Bakers Guild and just learning more about the outside realms.
Okay. As far as he knows, he is the only one of his kind in Waterdeep. You have seen no other Loxodons around. And Waterdavians are, by their nature, pretty chill. And they've seen all sorts of strange things, magical and otherwise. But it never ceases to amaze the people around you when you show up in a place. And then once your kind of sort of kind nature manifests itself, it quickly dispels any misgivings they have about being in the presence of an elephant-headed person of your size. Mm-hmm. But how would you like to make your way to Troll Skull Alley on this sunny spring morning?
Yeah, so being someone with a number of just regular habits and being very punctual and proper, he would have been awake probably 2 minutes before dawn and would have gone about the same routine that he went about every morning, taking a stroll to go get a morning croissant and a tea, and greeted the people that he's become friends with in the morning along the way, and would have just kind of had a nice couple hours as the sun was rising to just spend some time walking through and maybe bartering for a few interesting spices on the way, and would have arrived and knocked on the door precisely 1 minute before the time that he was to be there.
Okay, great. Dirna, where do you spend your time in Waterdeep normally?
I was thinking she probably talked like a more easygoing person into letting her stay with them.
Okay.
And yeah.
Is there a particular part of the city where she would feel most at home? There's the dock ward, which is kind of salt of the earth people. The buildings tend to be a little bit more run down, but there's the people who live in that area are generally hard-working, blue-collar folks. And then you've got the southern ward, which a lot of foreigners live in. So it's got a very diverse-looking population. And then once you get up away from those two districts, further north in the city, you start to see more kind of your traditional Victorian Waterdavian folk becoming all the more richer the more north you go. Until you get to the field ward at the northern end of the city, which is basically a shanty town.
I think she probably stays at the dock ward because there are more seagulls there than ravens.
Okay.
That's fair.
So because she's staying at the dock ward, she's about as far away from Troll Skull Alley as she can be and still be in the city. How does she want to get to where she needs to go?
Well, given that she can trance, she probably tranced early and got up like middle of the night.
Okay.
And then I think she used her ability to speak with animals to round up a bunch of dogs and have them pull her along in like a children's like cart that she found.
Okay. So these stray dogs basically lashed to a cart, pulling her down cobblestone streets to the best of their ability. Occasionally, you just sort of pass by some guards who have basically got the graveyard shift, patrolling the town and whatnot, the occasional lamplighter, and they honestly just don't know what to make of you.
It should be noted that she's riding in it standing up, and she, instead of dressing like a normal Shatterkai, she wants to like not really be immediately read as one, so she's dressing in like the opposite in her mind, which is a lot of like really white flowing outfits.
Okay.
With like long white hair, so she looks like a ghost going down the street.
Yeah, I was going to say, so all these people, these few people who do watch her go by, go home or go to all-night taverns, basically, and start to tell stories about the ghost wagon pulled by mastiffs. And that becomes a thing in Waterdeep. And so if you're traveling by night, you'll arrive at Troll Skull Alley well before sort of people are awake and businesses are open and whatnot. What are you going to do to pass the time?
She probably just stands in an alley nearby and waits, sort of staring at the building So if people in the building notice her, they'll see her just
Not creepy at all.
alley.
All right. In the early morning, the usual happens at the Waffle House, which is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Waffle Crew, but Evelyn, you're usually, is it you or Dieth who's usually the first to rise?
I think it's me
Okay.
that I'm like up on the roof doing my like workout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since you're up on the roof doing your early morning workout, just make a perception check for me, Evelyn.
$18.
Okay. At one point, you glimpse a pale elfin figure in an alley watching the house.
Do I find their posture threatening?
No, you wouldn't say threatening, but as it happens, you can make an insight check to maybe try to glean intention.
9.
9. Yeah, it's mystifying to you. It's very, very creepy, the stillness with which the figure seems to be standing, focused definitely on the facade, on your building, on the facade of your building. There are no weapons out, nothing like that. It's just a strange, strange figure. And it could just be a spy, somebody working for maybe the Zentarum or the City Watch, or who knows? Who knows?
Evelyn does that thing where you like see someone, but you try to pretend like you're not like
Okay.
staring at them to see what they do.
I
She
make
keeps
a
working
perception
out.
check if I see her seeing me.
You would see probably Evelyn catching like the early morning light on the rooftops of the building. Make a perception check, Dirna.
Yeah, so that's a 21.
You do seem to meet her eyes at one point.
As soon as there's eye contact, Evelyn's not gonna like pretend that there wasn't, and she'll be like, "Hi, do you like our house?"
You say that in the early morning when a bunch of people are probably still just kind of waking up. But there's nobody else in Troll Skull Alley right now in this early morning, so you have no trouble hearing her, Dirna.
I slowly wave. What do I make of the house? I have Eldritch Sight, so I would see any like magics on it, I think.
As you glaze at the house, you can see that there is some sort of spectral aura, sort of faint and patchy, sort of drifting or oscillating over the structure, weakly in some areas, stronger in others, moving almost like a shimmering invisible curtain over the structure. So you do sense some magic about the place. Beyond that, it is a multi-story sort of Gothic Victorian monstrosity with pitched roofs, gables, many balconies, and a turret on one corner that's 5 stories tall and has a weather vane at the top.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that big when I blew it up. Whoops.
The turret, the top of the turret looks newer than the rest of the structure.
I just wave back, and I'm like, your house's magic could use a little patchwork to get it all.
Evelyn, it dawns on you, dim recollection now, oh yes, this is the morning when Strix said that the Coven members were going to come by, and you do recall glancing or hearing mention of one of the final members that Strix chose being a dusk elf, or as sometimes is known, a Shatterkai.
Oh my gosh, are you Dirna? I would recognize you anywhere. Welcome. Evelyn flies down and like takes her arm, and she's like, "Oh, come on in. Strix is gonna be so excited to meet you."
She sort of stumbles along. She like had like a big like entrance that, but it's kind of in ruin. It's like, oh, okay. She just
right.
stumbles after Evelyn.
So in terms of timing, Dirna is the first to arrive. Then there is a little knock on the door, signaling Critter's arrival.
I'd imagine at that point, Dieth's awake and probably answers the door.
Yep.
And then opens it and sees Critter and immediately thinks to himself, wow, what an ugly halfling.
Hi.
That's a callback, everybody.
Hey.
That's the end of that bit.
Yes, you see this like 2.5 foot tall reptilian dog-like creature in a cloak.
So was Dieth informed about?
Dieth is absolutely well informed about everything that's.
To the point where like Strix was like talking about it, and he just started falling asleep.
Okay. All right. So he knows enough. Okay.
Maybe he was too distracted with other things to know who the finalists were going to be, so he might be surprised to learn that she picked a creature such as this. But then you go, oh yes.
Yeah. So Dieth probably opened the door and then looks down at Critter with just his eyes. So just Rex. Just immediately calls for her to take care of it.
Okay. Yes.
Am I in the right place?
Dieth, without even being able to confirm exactly who this person is, just goes, "Yeah, you're in the right place,"
Okay.
and like steps aside to like let him in.
I walk in.
Okay. And about 1 minute before 9 bells, when everybody is supposed to actually show up, there is a heavy knock at the door.
I guess I'll go get.
By now, everybody's been up for quite some time, and probably Strix has actually got breakfast out for everybody.
Yeah, Strix is like like before you do like a really big like party or show or something.
Yeah.
She's just running around the house like cleaning, like, oh, so many people are coming over. Oh my god! And she's just like dusting and then like making pies and like just like running out there like, that's someone else trying to get the door, and she just disappears.
Can Dierne try to help by making scrapple?
Okay.
She's gonna like anyone that wants to come and help. She's like, no, you don't help yet. It's not your turn to help yet. You have to sit out here and talk to my friends.
Okay. She just goes out and starts making tea.
So the main room, the tap room, if you will, has where the bar used to be. There's basically like this counter with pies underneath it on display. There's also a flat section of counter where people can get drinks, and there's a wine dispenser and a beer ale dispenser. Then there's all sorts of tables about the room with chairs surrounding them, some under windows, some by a central fireplace, and some arranged around a spiral staircase that leads up to the second floor. And as the morning wears on, Dirna and Critter, and now Prolock, when you show up with your big boom, boom, boom on the front door, and they let you in as well. At some point in the morning, Paulton will make his way down and basically just slump in Strad von Cherovich, his favorite chair, and just drink from a flask. Around the same time, or shortly thereafter, Warrington Munt,
Oh no.
your resident GIF, comes downstairs as well, expecting breakfast.
Hey, I would like everyone, if I can tell them, like, I'll pop my head out from the community, be like, please, everyone, assemble in the main hall.
Where's the main hall? Just the main hall?
So she doesn't tell you where the main hall is.
Evelyn also doesn't know where the main hall is. She's
even
like,
which one's the main hall? Like
she's
room
like,
or the hallway.
Is it the tap room? Is it like the
Yeah,
it must be the tap room.
Sure, here. I mean, it could be like this. Dieth reaches into his pocket and pulls out his map of his own manor. I don't know. I feel like
She peeks out again. It's the tap room.
When Warrington Munt sees you, Prolock, he sort of adjusts his monocle to take a closer look at you from across the room, from where he customarily sits while he waits for Strix to bring him his breakfast. Usually with a newspaper, although there doesn't seem to be one present today. And Paulton is sort of, dare I say, sleeping in the chair about 5 feet away from him, tapping his foot as though listening to some music in his head. But Warrington, this GIF, looks at you, and without addressing you directly, turns to Paulton and says, "A man with an elephant head? Well, that strains all credulity. Don't you think, Pippin?" Nothing from Paulton. And then Warrington comes over to you, Prolock, and sort of stands over you while you're sitting down, not realizing that if you were to stand, you'd probably be a head taller than him.
I will stand then next to him, but with a very joyful smile, like some crinkly little eyes, and greet him good morning, and take both of his hands in both of mine and give a slight nod of my head.
He sort of puts his hands behind his back and clasps them and looks you up and down like an officer studying the attire of a lower ranking officer, and says, "Of the creatures in this world that I trust, the ones I trust least are the very tall and the very small. You, sir, are the former."
I understand, and I just humbly would like to try to change your mind.
Warrington, you be nice to our guests. If you're going to live here, you're going to have to be nice.
He says,
Strix hasn't brought breakfast out yet either. She's poignantly not doing it.
"I shall be as nice as decorum allows. Under the circumstances, I do not see that I have really any say in this matter. I shall be over there awaiting my breakfast. It was a pleasure to meet you all."
And a pleasure to meet you. And I'll take my seat again.
All right.
While they're having this conversation, can I try to mage hand a rusty nail into Warrington Munn's pocket?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Make a sleight of hand check to do so without attracting his attention.
15?
You are successful.
God.
Excellent.
And he'll
Good
never
job.
know it.
No. He'll be like, "Oh, is this a bullet?"
All right. So they have all gathered, and the morning wears on, Strix, and you realize that it is nearly that time.
All right, so Strix has already put all the pies out, and there's she's made a bunch of crude welcome signs, just out of bark and things, just hanging up, says "Welcome new members," and there's signs saying how much the pies are. It's lots of care was put into it, but it looks like it was done by a psychopath. So it's very sweet, a sweet psychopath. And so she'll come out, and you notice something about her outfit is that she actually looks cleaner. She actually cleaned up.
What?
And her cloak isn't she's still dirty, just a little bit more she's standing up straight, and her cloak, she's wearing a different cloak with a high collar, and her staff, she's got her staff glowing and everything. And she kind of walks in with a little air of confidence, and she looks at everyone and she goes, welcome everyone. This is the start of the Chickenfoot Coven. And I want to say that it's very important that we are not like those mages and wizards in Blackstaff Tower, because we don't learn magic, we know magic. And what we're doing is important. And what we do is we make people happy. So those people protect people in the city, but why would anyone want to live in this city? That doesn't make any sense if they're not happy. So what we do is we make pies, and we know magic, and we make them happy. Because magic isn't just blowing things up. It's just being able to make people happy. Make everyone happy. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make pies and make them happy. And we might also kill things and set things on fire.
And this
that's
is
good.
the strangest thing that Dieth has seen all day.
Evelyn's
And she,
clapping excitedly, yes, yes.
And she just sticks her staff on the ground, and green light lights up the room, and she's like, "We're open!"
Dierne raises her hand and says, "I only know how to make one kind of pie.
What's a pie?
It's not very sweet, and it's kind of flat, and it gives a lot of people digestive issues."
That sounds tasty.
She just looks. She's like, "We'll learn a lot. It'll be fine." So why don't we get started? So I'm gonna bring out some more pies for you to eat, and you can sit here and meet my friends. and I will be right back. And she like scuttles off.
Critter immediately starts sniffing around for a meat-based pie.
All right, you're able to find
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
I
You don't know what
gobble it. Yeah, I don't care. He gobbles it down.
All right. With utensils or without? Just like face full of pie?
Yeah, there's face full of pie. Face full of pie,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nom, 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 nom.
Yep.
I imagine Dieth this whole time probably hasn't actually sat down for breakfast or anything. He's probably just standing stoically somewhere nearby, arms likely folded.
Prolock will stand up and actually walk over to Dieth and ask him where the nearest wash basin is.
You can direct him to a privy upstairs on the second floor.
Yeah, it's like there's a privy right there up the first flight of stairs, so I'll put up that way. First door you see on the left.
And he'll give a quick bow and say that I shall take my leave for just a moment, and he'll like slowly lumber his way up there to wash his hands before starting.
As he's walking away, Dia's just like, mm.
Also, if I'm quiet, I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know how to fix it. I'm trying. Just on my phone, and it's awful.
All right, so Prolock has gone upstairs. Warrington is staring with horror at the kobold eating that pie without any utensils. Paulton is, as far as you know, asleep foot tapping in his chair. And you can probably start to hear the kids and Waffles stirring upstairs.
There's so many
Just
people in
imagine
this
all
house.
the like stomping and like yelling.
Ah!
Oh my god. Yeah, Strix will come back out, having solidified the kitchen, and she's like, we have to do things that make people happy. So you can bake pies or do whatever, or practice your magic, whatever you want to do.
Now, Strix, you know that in order for them to really pass the final test, they have to earn the blessing of one of your friends.
Yeah, she's trying to get them to do that. They just like they're looking too anxious, so she's nudging them in that direction. Like, but if they don't, like if they're not trying to make an effort, then she's gonna push them in their way.
Okay.
So she's kind of now just hovering by the bar, like looking at Evelyn, like why don't you guys get to know each other? There's many of you here.
Is this when I administer the test?
She looks at Evelyn. She's like, yes, this is it. Why don't you talk to the Shatterkai lady? I'm a little scared.
Okay.
Okay, so you're pairing off Evelyn with Dirna.
Yes.
All right. Are you going to pair off any of the others?
Well, the elephant man walked away. So I'm
lumbering back downstairs by this point.
Oh, okay. I will look at him and then look at Dia, just be like, oh, why don't you find out where our faraway friend is from, Dia? I'll look at Paulton, I'll look at our kobold friend and be like, looks like a perfect fit.
What fits where?
Dieth looks back at the Loxodon and then back at Strix, arms still folded, and just says, none of them are good enough.
Just like, that Waterdeep is a big city. We can't go through 500 people and then come down for 3 of them, and then you still say they're not good enough. So maybe we can just try. Please. She like does like as much big eyes as she can at him, like looking sad.
Dieth kind of gives like a stink face, but like the kind of stink face is like that's also like a parent being like fine, just like
she's really close.
yeah. It's like fine.
And she's like, yay! I'm sorry, there's so many birds here.
That's all right.
It just adds to the chaos that's already happening within the house.
Yeah.
So.
And there's some
Yes.
parrots. We don't know why.
Yes. You also have some chickens in your kitchen, so it kind of makes sense that there'd be bird sounds.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and she's holding one of the spectral chickens, like a smaller version,
Oh,
right
okay.
now, and petting it.
It's
Like,
Irene can talk to animals, so she's probably having a conversation with one of the chickens.
All right. They're talking
perfect.
chicken.
Perfect.
What are they talking about?
Oh my
Chicken
gosh, the
things.
chickens are probably like, we love Strix so much.
Yes, she seems to take good care of you until she plans to slaughter you for food.
Oh no, we don't do that here. We only eat their eggs.
She doesn't know that, and also she's speaking chicken.
The chickens are like, "Mark."
Chicken. I'm like, bark, 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 bark. Oh, that's great. All right, as soon as everyone's paired off, Strix is going to be like, now, as your final test of joining the Coven, you have to make my friends happy, which I think is the hardest thing to do of all.
Damn.
Oh, Evelyn kind of squares her shoulders and clears her throat, and she's like, yes. Dearna, I will be the proctor of your test today, and I expect the utmost decorum as we complete this. And she pulls out some sheets of paper. Like, she's clearly prepared this as though it were an academic situation. She's like, I have both a written and practical test, and I hope that you will let me know when you are ready, and you may either read it or I will read it to you if you feel more comfortable. But your score on this test will determine whether you are fit to join the Chickenfoot Coven with our friend Strix.
Is it open notes?
Yes, I suppose so.
Okay, she takes out her ritual book, which is like clearly made out of skin, and it has eyes and teeth all over it. And wherever she goes to like grab the book, like all the eyes and teeth like close and retract, and like when she moves her hand, they'll just all like pop back out, and it's really unsettling.
Oh, that's special.
She opens her book and flips through some pages, and then like, a tongue
Strix
falls
would like
out,
it,
and she like shoves it back in.
Evelyn does note that this would be something Strix would be into, regardless of how unsettling it feels to her.
It's like, oh, you use a tongue for a bookmark. So does Strix. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen her use her tongue to mark books. Yeah.
I'm gonna go over to Paulton with my second pie in hand and hop up on his lap. I assume he's still sleeping.
When you hop up on his lap, he disappears.
Oh,
And you are now standing in an empty chair.
Dieth actually laughs because he knew it.
I sit in the empty chair, lounge back comfortably, and then scarf down the pie.
Okay. As you scarf down the pie, there is a clonk, 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 clonk sound of wooden feet coming down wooden steps. And coming into view on the spiral staircase is a short, maybe 3 foot tall puppet man, an animated construct that looks like a jester marionette given life, moving on its own accord. And it sort of moves its eyes over the entire room, taking in everyone present, and then sees you sitting in Paulton's chair. And it's almost like the jaw just sort of unhinges and almost threatens to fall off when he stares at you, gawking, sitting in the chair, splattering it with bits of meat and pastry flakes.
What the hell is that?
That's mighty unsettling.
I like that one.
Mm-mm.
no, Simon's already part of the Coven. Everyone be nice.
Simon will come over to you, Strix, and tug on your robe.
Oh, what is it, Simon? Did you want to hurt me? Well, all right. But what do you need? Do you want to vet our kobold friend? Oh, is Paulton passed out? Told him to be here. She's like, of course he is. All right. Fine, Simon. I trust you. I trust you to do a good job. So you go ahead and do that, and later on I'll teach you to make a pie too.
He climbs up onto the counter, onto one of the highest cupboards, sort of hard to reach up by the chimney flue, and he opens it, and you're not even sure if there's anything in this cupboard. It's not one of the cupboards you typically use in the kitchen or have used. And he pulls out what looks like a bottle of wine, but it's got a tag on it. And he hops down with the bottle of wine and leaves the kitchen.
All right, I will walk up to the bottle of wine and read the tag.
He'll stop to let you read the tag. The tag says, "You must down this entire bottle in under a minute and not black out."
Oh no, we're gonna kill the kobold!
It's one with the smallest body weight drinking test.
Give this one to the elephant.
Also down and be like, more.
Strix is just like, well, okay.
Simon will then take the wine back and walk over to the kobold. And when he gets to the kobold, Critter, you see this puppet man stand before you. He's got a bottle of wine. He thrusts it out at you, cork first, as if asking you to take it.
I'll take it.
When you do, you see a little tag around the neck of the bottle that has written on it, "You must down this entire bottle in under a minute and not black out."
Oh well. It seems kind of rude, but I mean, I've drank more sewer water in less than a minute in that amount of time. How bad could this stuff be? I pop open the top.
Make a, well, no, you don't have to make a check. You can just pop the top. The cork flies off. The wine smells really potent.
Oh God.
Boy, that smells like sewer Causeway C right there. I'm gonna just lean back in the chair and just glug glug glug.
So all of you can see, after the puppet hands this bottle to the kobold, this bottle is about half the size of the kobold, and he just tilts it up.
Oh my God.
And as he's drinking, Simon's head just sort of turns all the way around to look at the rest of you and just keeps turning back until he's facing the kobold again. And I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Come on.
Oh, natural 20, 22.
Okay. So yes, you drink it all. You empty the bottle. Then what do you do? Because you are still very conscious.
I burp very loudly and then look at the bottle. I mean, this bottle's like almost as big as me. You said.
It's about half the size of you.
Okay, I'll mage hand the bottle back over to the counter and drop it down there.
Strix is like.
It's just like.
The puppet man narrows his eyes at you, and then
narrow my eyes back.
holds up a finger, and then goes upstairs.
Oh no!
What does that mean?
No, it's not good. I can tell you that.
No.
Hey, what did I screw up something already? Yeah.
No, you did great. You're
that's
still
good.
alive.
Hey.
By now.
Yeah, you're feeling pretty lightheaded at the moment, and like you could almost float off this chair now, but you're not in any danger of passing out or dying.
That's good. I'll stand up on the chair and just start sort of doing a slight sway dance back and forth. I don't think Critter's ever had alcohol before, so this is a new experience.
Aw. I'm just like, I love the kobold. Critter, you're so talented.
In kobold years, Critter's actually 12.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, so Simon is gone and Critter's doing a dance. What are the rest of you doing?
Prolock walks up to Dieth and gives a nod and says, I don't believe we've been properly introduced. My name is Prolock. It's a pleasure to meet you. But he very pointedly doesn't grab his hands like he did with the GIF because he's washed them and noticed that nobody else here has done that. So he's keeping his hands to himself, but still being very cheerful and polite.
Dieth is just like, hello, Prolock. What brings you here?
Simply to learn, to understand. The more that I understand people who are different from those that I grew up with, the greater I feel my empathy is increased, and it makes me better as a person. So it's just my when to travel for the next 20 years and learn the ways of the multiverse.
So you would say you see yourself as an empathetic person?
I try to increase my empathy, yes.
So you'd say you probably have like a, pretty good feel or maybe even sort of insight on some people you met, perhaps some people in this room? Dia says he's like looking up at Lockstone this whole time.
Yes, perhaps. Although, as I said, my understanding is only increasing with time. So if there's anything I may have do to be of service to you, please do not hesitate to request. And then his eyes just crinkle again as he gives a pleasant smile and a nod.
Fascinating. All right. Would you happen to recall as much as you can from the initial application when it comes to the Chickenfoot Coven of one Strix?
Would I happen to recall which information?
Anything and everything from the application or the signs or whatever the heck it is that she did.
And then he starts to recite the various welcome signs that he saw on the way in, but purposely mispronounces the one that was spelled incorrectly. And then cites off the specific moment that he was told to arrive. You can tell that he's got his life down to a very strict schedule, and he knows exactly where and when he's going to be and how his body moves. It's very measured and slow but deliberate.
After all of that, Dieth just goes, your attention to detail does not impress me.
That is interesting. I've learned something new today.
Dieth is like visibly annoyed by that. like Prolock is just like so nice and just happy to be here, like is learning things, and Dieth's just like, oh, come on. Dieth will be like, all right. Well, I'm glad that you seem to know so much about people and you've been paying attention. Come with me. And then Dieth will kind of like motion him to follow him up. Go to we'll say actually we'll go down to the probably not the hatch. I don't know. Can you fit through the hatch? Get the locks on.
Yeah, he can fit through the hatch.
Okay. Yeah, he'll go to the hatch and bring him down into the basement.
Okay. When you're down in the basement, you can see that it's like a root cellar. It's a low ceiling, locks it on. You kind of have to crouch down while you're in here to keep from hitting your head on the cross beams of the floor above. The ground is peaty and earthy underfoot, but dry. And you can see that there are all kinds of shelves along the walls containing supplies and whatnot, and a gate set into one wall that leads to a sewer tunnel.
As soon as Strix sees Tia take him into the basement, she's just like, he's gonna kill him.
Once they get down there, Diaz kind of goes to one of the in the same room of the ale cellar. He kind of goes towards one of the corners.
Yeah.
Goes down and seems to start like digging around for something or brushing away dirt or sand or something. And as he's doing this, he'll continue to speak to Prolock and says, Tell me, Prolock, what is it that you fear?
Oh, a variety of things. Typically, just the disappointment of others who have been in my in the service that I provide to them. Not much else really, but that's part of my journey is to learn more and to decide what exactly there is to fear.
Dia seems to pick something up from that corner and then walks over to a small table or stool kind of down there and motions Prolock to come forward. And it'll say, well, then this should be easy for you. Since all you want to do is understand. I want to see exactly how much you understand. Dieth unravels a small pouch and empties its contents onto the table. And there are 6 different gemstones, all of different cuts, all of different colors, all of different types. Dieth kind of puts his hands out, has down on both sides of the stool, and just goes, there are 6 gems here, all worth different amounts. I'm not going to tell you which is which. I want you to pick one and doing whatever you want with it. There's also a nearby market. Using this gemstone through whatever means necessary, I want you to find something that you believe is the most valuable to Strix and give that to her.
Do you want me to find the gem that is most valuable to her, or just the item that is most valuable?
I am simply offering you a bargaining chip. What you do with it from there is completely up to you.
Understood. And I would like to, over the gemstones that are in front of me, cast Identify.
Okay.
Damn it.
For the goal of determining what?
If there's anything special about these gems that, other than just being gems, whether they might actually lead to anything or allow for something to be ascertained.
Okay. Dieth, are these the gems that you collected from the Xanathar's lair?
Yeah.
Or some of them, anyway?
Yeah, some of them.
Okay. So your Identify spell, which costs you a pearl that's consumed in the casting and an owl feather, you learn that none of these 6 gems are magical. And
after he cast that spell,
yeah,
Dieth just goes, whoop, uh-oh.
And so
it's like water off a duck's back. It's just like, And then based on this cryptic message that I'm getting from Dieth, in all of the very studied observation of his surroundings or anything, is there anything that Prolock might just know that he'd be hinting at, or is it like he's just being messed with?
You can make an insight check.
21.
It's pretty good. Dieth, are you deceiving him?
That was muted. So this seems like a sincere request. You can't really tell if there's like an actual trick to the stones themselves, but it does seem like what he's saying to you is exactly what he wants. So, how well do you know gemstones?
Well, I have stone cunning probably doesn't help me there, but
Actually, it would.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, he's knows very well the working of stone.
Yeah, you can tell the difference between like lapis lazuli and onyx and hematite and obsidian.
Okay, so with that, I can tell you. So the ones that are before you aren't super precious, super valuable, like hundreds of gold pieces, but they aren't nothing either. So they aren't very well cut. A lot of them are rough. There is a topaz, a jade, a lapis lazuli, like Chris actually mentioned, a peridot, a a malachite, and a we'll go with rose quartz.
Okay. So being thrown into this situation and having no idea what any of this means, and being a very direct person who's still a little bit naive about the workings of this, Prolock turns around and goes right back up and directly to Strix and questions her exactly, do these stones mean anything to you? And if so, which makes you the most happy?
Which makes you the most happy?
Yes.
With that going on, what are Evelyn and Deerna up to?
When Evelyn, sorry, I was just going to say when Evelyn was probably distracted by Simon coming down, Deerna probably used thaumaturgy to make her own eyes glow because she's a little crestfallen about not being able to do her dramatic entrance.
Oh, okay. So next time you look at Deerna, her eyes are glowing, Evelyn.
Ooh, your eyes sure are pretty.
Thank you. I'm very proud of them.
Well, I would be too if I had eyes like that. But I mean, we have business to attend to, and I have prepared your test right here. Would you like to read it, or would you like me to read it aloud to you?
Yes.
Evelyn, you could have probably, if you knew this was coming, had time to set up a small classroom upstairs.
Okay. Yeah, I did that. It's like it has like a some sort of table as a podium where Evelyn
Right.
stands at the front, and then it has just one like desk
Yeah.
little area where like you could sit to take the test.
And there's like a chalkboard on an easel in a corner. Yeah.
Mhm.
It says Miss Evelyn Helvig.
in like really pretty cursive.
yeah.
Deerna sits in the back of the room. Raises her hand.
Evelyn, yes, Deerna.
I'm sorry. What are the rules for this test? I haven't taken a test since Chi school, and I was wondering if wrong answers will be met with swift capital punishment.
No capital punishment for this one. More just like do your best, and your best will, I'm sure, be good enough. That's the rules.
Did you say Chi school?
Yes.
So Evelyn just like puts the paper on the desk and like smiles and just kind of shoves it toward her, and then stands at the front like this.
Picks up the paper. What's on the paper?
Do you want me? I have it written down. Do you want
Great.
me to send it to you, or do you want me to read it to you?
Maybe read it so everybody knows.
Okay. So the first question, it's all multiple choice.
Okay.
The first question is, finish the sentence. Vampires are generally A, attractive, B, evil, C, potential allies, D, all of the above.
I have trouble with this.
Do you have a question about one of the questions?
Yes, I have a
Yes,
question.
what's your question?
This first one.
Yeah?
I need to know one technical thing before I
Sure.
answer this.
Mhm.
Is sex with vampires considered necrophilia?
No question is a bad question in this classroom. There's nothing off limits. I've never thought about that before. I feel like I need to ask an expert. I wonder if Paulton would know.
I'm just going to put D for now, just in case.
Okay, that seems right.
All right. Prolock, you're with Strix asking her about the gems.
Yes.
Yeah. Strix just kind of looks at him and is like, "Did you get these from Dia?"
Yes, he seemed to be rather cryptic, but mentioned that one of these would make you happy or something along those lines. And I simply don't know what's required of me here. If you would just perhaps guide me a bit, I'm willing to learn.
Well, as I talked about in therapy, the thing that makes me happy is when Dieth is happy, which might not be the most healthy thing in the world. So I'm going to tell you to go back there and tell him that the most important thing to Strix is him being happy, and then just put those on the table. And then you tell him that those are his.
And he nods and turns around and goes right back and does exactly what she said.
All right. The gems go back on the table, Diath.
You cheated.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that there was a limit to the methods by which this should be accomplished. But if you have a separate task you would like me to try, please do let me know. I will try my best.
Edith kind of holds his hand up to kind of like stop him for a moment. It's like, and when you went to Strix and asked her that, with your great empathy, what did you notice?
I noticed that she seemed rather upset that her friends weren't immediately happy. So if there's anything I might do to make you happy, I feel like that might be the way to increase her happiness as well.
She did tell you too that the thing that would make her happy is if Diaz was happy.
Yep.
Yes.
Diaz will scoop up all the gemstones and just goes, come with me. And he'll go back out the hatch and will actually lead Prolock out the front door. And as he's doing this, Diaz will just like call back out to Strix. We'll be back.
Okay.
And from there, leads Prolock to the market that Diaz visits every morning.
Okay. It's a good hike, a pleasant walk, stroll, as it were, from the North Ward and Troll Skull Alley, across the high road into the neighborhoods of the well-to-do, down Shield Street to the market, which is in the Castle Ward. And already at this hour, it's quite bustling. You pass many, many pleasant sights. And once you're in the market, you're assailed by all manner of color and aroma.
Is this a market that I might have been perusing through the regular travels in the mornings?
Likely you are well accustomed to this market. It is the main market in the city. It's sort of in the center of the city. To the north of the market, there is a giant 90-foot tall statue with buildings built atop it, of a figure holding a hand up with a stone sphere floating above that hand. That is a well-known landmark, one of the walking statues of Waterdeep called the God Catcher. To the south of the market is another statue similar in size, but representing a different creature or being, this being a human man known as the Great Drunkard, because of his sort of crouched, drunken posture. And there are buildings built around him as well. And he looks smaller because this statue is seated or in a sitting posture. But these two gigantic statues basically have the market, which is huge, tucked between them. And with all the activity going on, there's plenty of distractions.
I'm just doggedly following behind, very slowly lumbering and stopping whenever he stops.
Yeah.
So Diaz will basically lead him through and stop him at certain stalls, and basically will point out very specific ones. Like he'll go to show Prolock the first stall and just be like, they handcraft rings here and sell them. You can get them sized for anything you want. You can put any kind of engraving you want on it. You can attach any kind of gemstone. There's a very simple jeweler, but I know they live here in Waterdeep and they just make it. He brings Prolock to the next stall. This one's really interesting. I see this every morning. They sell like all kinds of different parchment and writing things. Like they got all kinds of different empty books. They got tomes. They have some ink and quill and all kinds of different like writing utensils and things there. Leads Prolock to the next stall. This one is very nice though. This is all handcrafted cooking utensils made from trees that aren't even on the Sword Coast, or so they claim. Look at it, they got spoons and pans and cutting boards and all kinds of things that, man, I don't even really understand. Brings Prolock to a final stall. I mean, these are all just kind of trinkets and things, but some of them are pretty fascinating. Look, we got like claws of things. I think that's a tooth of a different creature, tufts of hair. I guess they could be spell components. You probably know more about that than I do. And then he turns to Prolock and opens up his hand and shows the gems again and says, which one would Strix like the most?
Can I make any sort of insight into this, or would he just be completely flying blind?
I mean, it'd be based on your intuition of Strix and like what you know of her and how your brief interactions with her and from like applications and things.
Right. I meant like from his historical knowledge, if he's constantly taking this information and kind of giving things rote, would he have any knowledge that I, as a human, do not have?
I guess make an insight check.
That's a natural one.
Good luck, buddy, and welcome to the Waffle Crew.
Yes.
Skipping off to Critter. Critter, after Evelyn takes Dirna upstairs and Diath takes Prolock out, you feel somewhat neglected. The GIF has had enough of you. Warrington leaves. And so you're kind of alone for a bit. You can hear Strix, though, clattering around in the kitchen as before, getting ready for opening day and all that business. And then you hear what sounds like hammering sounds and sawing noises from upstairs. And a few minutes later, the puppet man comes back down again. And he has fashioned what appear to be a pair of stilts.
Oh my god.
Okay. I'll drunkenly stumble towards the puppet man.
Yes, he is expecting you to follow him.
I will drunkenly stumble behind him.
All right. He will lead you outside and down out of Troll Skull Alley and down Del Zorin Street. And at some point, and he's just got these two stilts over his shoulders, and he looks behind you to make sure that you continue to follow him. Make another Constitution saving throw for me. All this exertion coupled with all this wine.
12?
Under the sun, it's just like, at one point, when you get to the corner of Del Zorin Street and the high road, you have to stop briefly and just kind of retch. And Simon
I
just
feel a little bit better now.
Simon just waits there patiently until you're done, and then you have to cross the busy street. I'd like you to make a dexterity save to cross the street.
Do you think he gets points with Simon if he throws up in front of him?
24.
Okay, yes, you're able to weave between the traffic and the drays zipping by and not get run over or squashed. Simon continues to lead you down the length of Del Zorin Street for a good long way, crossing almost the breadth of the city into a section of the city that's all wealthy villas and well-manicured lawns until you get to a street called the Street of the Singing Dolphin. And then you turn left, and then you turn right onto Diamond Street, and he seems to be taking you to the West Gate. This is the West Gate of the city kind of is built into the outer wall of the city that overlooks the sea. And this gate, unlike many others in the city, is not well populated or well staffed because there's very little traffic that ever comes through here. About the only people who come through the West Gate are those who, for whatever reason, need to get to the shore or want to get to the shore. But as you walk through the gate, guards look at you very warily because they don't usually see a puppet man with stilts and a cloaked, wretched reptile boy
Yeah, I imagine.
moving not really in a straight line, but kind of zigzagging his way behind this puppet, trying to keep his feet. But when they let you through unmolested, and when you look beyond the West Gate, you can see the vastness of the Sea of Swords, the waves beating up against the rocky shore. And between the wall of the city and the water is this great expanse, which you don't know, but which the city folk call the mud flats, because it's not a sandy beach. It's just this big, sloping, muddy morass. And then he hands you the stilts.
What am I supposed to do with this?
He drops the stilts in front of you and puts his hands on his hips and looks at the stilts, then looks at you, then looks at the stilts, then looks at you.
I'll pick up a stilt and examine it.
Now, these stilts aren't sophisticated. They're basically poles with little wedge-shaped things to put your feet on at the bottom, so you can hold the poles with your feet on these wedges and basically be about 2 feet taller than you normally would be.
Paulton, what the fuck?
I mean, I don't know, a little wooden man about all this. I guess I'll look at Simon and see if I can determine if he wants me to walk across the mud flats. Like, does he seem to be indicating? Okay. All right. And
then he'll point. He will point out to a spot, and you can make a perception check to sort of follow his finger to see what he's pointing at.
Ooh, that's not bad. 20 total.
So he is pointing northward up the mud flats, and you think a good distance away are some basically some rocks coming up out of the water. And he seems to be pointing to one of the rocks or thereabouts. And so you think in order to get across these mud flats to that rock and make any progress, you'll probably need the stilts.
Well, I don't really get your test here, little wooden man, but okay. And I'll put on the stilts and start tromping.
Make a dexterity saving throw at a disadvantage because you're drunk.
Brilliant. You got him drunk and with the stilts.
11.
Okay, so you're on the stilts, you're very shaky, but you sort of get your balance after a couple tries. Then you go out into the mud and you start to walk in it, and then immediately you sort of get stuck, and then your weight just sort of slowly carries you forward, and you fall face first into the mud and sink into it.
This is why I always stay underground. Okay. I'm going to try to push myself, like, out of the mud, or claw out of the mud.
Make a strength check.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. 2.
You can't move.
Help, I'm stuck. Help, I'm stuck.
Dear, back in the classroom.
Don't let Simon kill anyone else.
Back in the classroom. Evelyn.
Are you ready for the next question?
Yes.
Question number 2 is, do you like pie? A, yes. B, no. C, only some kinds. D, if you want me to.
She starts noticeably sweating.
Hey, okay, simple, straightforward answer. All right, are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
Question 3. If your party fell off a boat, what would you do? A, swim to safety. I can't help anyone if I drown first. B. B, try to keep the rest of the party's heads above water at all costs. C, call upon some higher power or special favor. D, die. I can't swim.
I can teleport.
Teleport. So that's I guess
I could grab one person, teleport with them to shore, and then teleport back, and then grab another person, and then teleport with them.
Would you say that's like a higher power special favor, or would you say that's
Yes.
like?
Oh, I suppose it would be using the powers granted unto me by my patron.
Yeah, I would
Because
say that's the
producing
higher
more-
power special favor.
I suppose. Yes, that one.
Look at you. You're going so fast. Do you want the next question?
Yes, I will destroy all these questions.
Okay, great. If a vampire hunter told you that you had to die to save your friends, would you? A, yes, no question. B, yes, but with some to lots of questions. C, no, I wouldn't believe him. D, no, I don't care that much about my friends.
This question is not entirely applicable because when Shatterkai died, the Raven Queen takes their souls and resurrects them. But if I did that, then the Raven Queen would have me, and then she would get my secret, and that would be bad.
I mean, death is never really super permanent anyway.
Yes, but the Raven Queen getting you is bad.
True. So,
when,
I mean,
when she's upset with you.
so are you saying you would not die?
This is a very complicated question. It
I
depends
know.
how much I know these. How well do I know these people? I guess the answer would probably be B. I would have a lot of questions.
Okay, that's fair. Should I continue asking questions, or do you need to
Yes.
go to someone else?
Please keep going.
Yes. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you're reading these things out loud.
Okay, next question. If a goblin was mean to you, what would you do? A, keep trying to befriend them. B, pretend they don't exist. C, cast spells on them until they calm down. D, leave them to their brother.
I feel like I need more context for this. This seems like a very specific sort of question that I don't have all the information for.
You know, sometimes life just doesn't give you all the information that you need, and you have to just follow your heart.
Well, I am proficient in the use of the medicinal uses of many herbs, so I would probably slip them something to make them calm down and maybe be more friendly. But I wouldn't do that to people I know because that would be mean. But if it was a mean random goblin that I didn't know, I'd probably do that because that would mean that there would be probably less violence.
Okay, so C.
I suppose, yes.
Okay, we're doing this together. This is great.
Skipping to the market, Dieth, under the morning sun, you've got merchants coming up to you asking if, basically after your business, asking if you want to buy this, want to buy that. They'll offer you deals.
Keep shooing them away.
Yeah.
Now.
And in the meantime, Prolock is standing there, like his eyes are almost closed. He's almost meditating, and in this bustling market for like a good minute and a half, that's kind of a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear like a deep like humming. It seems like he's thinking a lot. And finally, he opens his eyes and looks down right in front of him and says, "It sounds as though Strix wants for her happiness, for you to be happy. And for all of this, it seems to me that what would make you happy is simply that I fail. So I concede." And then at random, he picks the rose quartz and then just kind of stands there with his hands folded, holding it, just waiting to hear that he failed.
After a poignant pause, Dieth will like put a hand on the Loxodon's like kind of elbow or arms, like you passed the first part.
Okay, I understand.
Picks up the rose quartz from his hand and just says, "I know how much this is worth, but it's irrelevant here. You can't really put a monetary value to some things. Like, this is just a bargaining chip. And I showed you a lot of things in this market. Maybe you noticed something that I didn't. Again, it's just help me pick out something for Strix.
Well, come, let us do this together. And lead him back to the handcrafted rings thing, and we'll very slowly take him through all 4 booths and have a conversation as we're going through and asking him what he thinks and offering what little input I can give based on the little interaction I've had. But probably spending a little bit extra time at the cooking utensil stand, since that's my wheelhouse.
So we go back to the ring stand. As soon as you start talking a little bit about it, DS just kind of waves his hand. She goes, "No, this one was the trap. Don't. This one was not the answer. So don't worry about this one." Back towards the place with all the writing utensils. He's looking at stuff. He's like, I know she likes all this magic stuff, and she's making up this whole pie thing. Maybe she wants to like write her own like recipe book or something. So maybe that would, work for it. I don't know. Maybe just like a nice quill so that she could write all these things down or write anything she wants. At the cooking utensils, Dieth has no idea what most of the things are actually used for, so he takes like a lot of your advice and Dieth also says, "I don't even know which ones she actually has." And then at the components stand, for lack of a better term, Dieth just kind of says, "This just all seems like the easy way out. Like, I know she just likes weird things, but I feel like a lot of people just kind of give her weird or different objects, and I don't know. There's more I can give her than that. That is picking one at random and just giving that to her, right?"
Prolock, you realize this is so much information.
What if what you gave instead was knowledge rather than an object, something that could be used and enjoyed in perpetuity?
Oh, I don't know if there's anything that can actually teach her.
Well, if she's opening a business, people always appreciate something new and exciting that they haven't tried before. I do have a wonderful recipe for bread pudding.
You do?
Oh, yes. It's what my family is known for at home. I can actually find all the ingredients here if you'd like to try it.
Yeah. Dieth will actually take out one of the other gemstones and hand it over to Prolock. Says, "Take this. This should be more than enough to go get whatever you need. You go do that. I think I know what I want to give her." So while he buys that, Dieth will go back to the parchment place.
Okay.
And buy probably a nice tome that'll suffice as a cookbook for her. A little inkwell, and then just the nicest quill that you could possibly get there and afford.
All right. Very good.
Of whatever creature that you come up with.
Critter, you're still lying face down in the mud. The sun is hot on your back and starting to bake you.
Oh my. Oh no.
And then you feel mud being thrown on top of you.
Oh, this got bad to worse. This is not good. This is really not good. I reach in my pocket and pull out my pet shrimp Filbert and set him on the dirt. Say, go for help, Filbert.
Oh my god.
All right, Filbert goes off. What do you do?
Slowly, I imagine.
Slowly, yes.
In near panic, realizing what's happening, I'll attempt to mage hand the dirt back off of my back as it's being thrown on.
Yeah, you're able to sort of keep some clear around your head so you don't suffocate under the sucking mud.
And then I'll keep trying to pull myself out of it.
Make another strength check.
2.
Okay, you sink. You didn't think it was possible, but you sink a little deeper into the mud, and
This just getting worse.
the mud it feels almost like it's grasping onto you and trying to hold onto you forever and ever and ever. It's so sticky and so unpleasant, and clearly Simon, realizing that you have no hope of passing the test, is just burying you alive.
Can I see him? Can I twist at all to see him?
A little bit, but
little
it's
bit?
hard. Like you can sort of kind of twist your head as far as you can to try to look, and then this big wad of mud just goes almost on top of your face.
Can I?
You can obviously talk.
Can I see him well enough to throw a chromatic orb at him?
Let me just check the spell. If it has somatic components, then no.
It does.
Yeah, you can't make any kind of gestures at the moment.
I guess I'll try to plead for my life.
Okay.
No, please don't bury me alive. I'm too pretty to die. And I doubt it will have any effect, but I do have the feature cower, grovel, and beg.
Oh, very good. Yes.
So
This is perfect. This is absolutely perfect.
I will grovel, cower, and beg.
Okay, then make a persuasion check with advantage.
Okay.
Oh my god.
17.
Okay, he stops throwing mud on you and sort of grabs you and kind of pulls you up a little bit so that you're not in any danger of like literally suffocating. He seems to feel, but the look he doesn't have much expression, but what little expression he has suggests that he thinks you're pathetic, but that you're probably too pathetic to bake and die out here in the mud.
Oh, thank you, little wooden man. Your mercy will go a long way.
He points to the rock. The faraway rock.
How far away is said rock?
So, truth be told, the rock is, oops, wrong side. Dun, 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 dun. It is good distance away. Hundreds of yards, about 300 yards away.
How far away to solid land? Less than that?
Well, there's the wall.
Where we came from?
The way you came from, which is sort of standing tall and mighty to your east, blocking any view of the city beyond.
And that's closer than the rock?
Yes, yeah. The wall, you're sort of moving parallel with the wall as you head toward the rock.
Okay. If he's pulled me up far enough that I can get my feet,
Yep.
I'd like to attempt to stand again.
Okay, great.
And then sort of look at him, look at the rock, look at him, look at the wall, and then just book it for solid ground. Just
Okay.
flat out running.
Okay, so you're basically trying to like stay as close to the wall as possible?
I'm just trying to get back to solid ground that's not going to swallow me and eat me alive.
But you don't see any way moving across ground to get to that rock without crossing.
Oh, yeah, I'm not trying to get to the rock.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
Trying to run away.
All right, so you leave the stilts behind and you run towards solid ground, and he just looks at you running away. He looks at these two stilts sticking up out of the mud, and then he just shakes his head. Strix, you hear, you were kind of busy in the kitchen. You weren't sure you heard a knock at the door because the birds were making a lot of noise. And then you realize you hear sort of the creaking of floorboards suggesting that there is somebody in the tap room. And then you hear a voice say, not very loudly, "Hello."
Oh. I will peek through the kitchen and be like, "Hello, welcome to the Chicken Foot Coven and tap room and pie place. I don't know, it's bakery. That's it."
You see a figure in this tap room that kind of scary. Imagine, you know the character of Lurch from the Addams Family?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
From like the original TV series?
Yep.
Imagine a female version of that.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Wearing sort of a torn, almost vagabond-like clothing, and a stovetop hat that's sort of moth-eaten and decrepit.
Okay. Do they look Barovia-y to me?
No.
All right.
But there is something kind of, well, with the hat on, this figure stands about 8 feet tall, 8.5 feet tall,
Wow.
and is carrying a suitcase in one hand and says, I'm here. And she says, I'm here for my test.
Okay. There wasn't any other members scheduled for today, but if you want
got
to,
my resume.
I just like start like looking. I don't have papers. I'm just looking in my robe. I think I do.
Yes.
I'm like, oh,
Clearly, I am the best choice.
just like a little spooky. I'm okay.
She'll set the suitcase. She'll walk toward you, then set the suitcase down on the floor, and she says, "I am Mandragora."
Hello. I'll just stick my hand out, shake. Hello, welcome to the Chickenfoot Coven, Mandragora.
She practically crushes your hand in her iron-like grip,
Nice little hand.
and she says, "So, what's my test?"
Well, your test is to make someone happy. All my friends are currently being made happy, so you'll have to. Maybe you can make a.
Well, she says, leaning down toward you, then I'll make you happy.
That's a very I don't need anything, actually.
She says, "Is this the kitchen?" And she kind of pushes her way past you into it.
That is the kitchen right there.
Yes, very good, very good. Oh, look at these delicious creatures.
Wait, what?
Looking at
What?
your chickens. And then
No.
she leans down and goes, "Bark, bark, bark, little ones."
No, Mandragora, we don't need the chickens. They just make eggs for pies and pastries.
Yes, I see. And this is your cauldron collection. Lovely.
Yeah, they're for cooking. Not chickens though, or people.
She says,
Looks like you like.
What is your kitchen missing?
It's missing. What is it missing? What is my kitchen missing?
She's looking around.
I mean, definitely not cages. You look like a cage in the kitchen kind of lady, you know?
She sort of she starts to rifle through things like drawers and stuff, and she pulls out like a rolling pin and looks at it kind of scornfully, and then she looks at some herbs hanging on the walls, and she kind of rifles through them and sniffs them. Like she gets right up in your space.
And she's like trying to like put everything back every time that she takes something out. She's like, nope, that's not, nope, yeah. I just organized it, but she's also talking herself down.
She tries the door on the stove, and it kind of makes a squealy noise that she finds appealing, and she closes that.
Oh wait, so Mandragora, are you a cook? Are you a baker?
She sort of sniffs in the stove, and she says, "Yes, a cook, a baker, all those things. I've lots of practice in the kitchen. I'm good
But you don't
in
eat
the kitchen."
You don't eat people, right?
Oh. And then she says, "You know what this kitchen could use?
What?
I think you have something blocking your chimney. Maybe it needs to be cleaned."
I mean, I've never really looked up in there, so maybe.
She kind of sticks her long arm up into the stovepipe and feels around, comes down, and it's all covered with black soot. And then she just sort of smears some of it on her face and neck. She says, "I have the thing. I have just the thing." And she goes back out to her suitcase.
I like your.
I'm going to like working here very much.
Well, who sent you here, Mandragora? How did you hear about the Chickenfoot Coven?
Through the advertisements, of course. No one is better equipped to help you get this coven off the ground than me. And so, I assumed you would need my services.
Are you from Waterdeep? I'm getting a vibe that you're not from around here.
No,
Just
not
saying.
from around here, no.
So where are you
But
from?
I applied for the job. originally from the Feywild.
I have not great memories of there.
She pulls
Did you work-
out basically what looks like a duster on the end of a rod. That's basically like a collapsible pole. It's basically used for cleaning chimneys.
Oh, well, that's good. All right. Okay. Strix is like also trying to talk herself down, like, I am in charge here. I am the Archmage of the Coven. I mean, Archwitch. I don't know what I am. I'm in charge.
And she starts cleaning the stove. She just rams this thing up in, pulls it back down, and big clouds of soot billow out behind her.
Do I think an insight check? Can I insight check her real quick?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To see, like, is this like, am I don't know. I don't know.
Trying to gauge the wee woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the window is pretty high, but like she did advertise the Coven, and that's
Yep.
there was an elephant person house earlier, like, so we'll just keep it.
Yes. All right. Meanwhile, upstairs, Evelyn.
Anna stepped away for a moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. We'll go back to Diath then.
Okay. I'd imagine Prolock went off and got all his recipe ingredients.
Yes.
Yes. But didn't spend the stone that was given to him. He instead spent his own money and is planning to return the stone.
Okay.
That's nice.
So Diath will have a good sized tome, like a stereotypical like wizard tome, but instead got it customized, so it says Strix's bakery book on the front. He also bought some ink, and then bought a very large feather, probably of something that's rad, like a hippogriff or something like that. So Prolock and Diath will back up.
Yep.
And Diath will ask, Prolock, I know that you know something of magic, right?
I know some things, although particular magics are a little more foreign to me than others.
Oh, okay. So I want to do this thing, and I'm hoping that you can help me do it, because I'm not sure if this is even possible, because I know less about magic than you do. Diath holds up the feather and just says, I want to enchant this feather and infuse it with a feeling, with an emotion. Is that something that we can do? That's possible, right?
I personally, I can sometimes calm emotions, although I don't know if I have ever attempted to infuse that ability into an object. It's certainly something outside of the realm of my experience, but I don't see why we can't try.
Well, if you want to pass your test, you're going to try.
And he'll reach both his hands out for the feather.
And Diath will kind of keep holding on to it and just says, no, just, it's not really a feeling I can describe, just one I can do. So just whatever your enchantment ritual is, just do that as I try to give it the emotion.
Well, here we go. While you're focusing on it, he's going to cast calm emotions at 3rd level and try to bend it in a way that he's never done before, and latch on to both Diath's emotion and the feather at once.
So as he's doing this, Diath just takes the feather and, as best he can, basically bring it close to his body and just try to hug it.
God.
And
it works. Yeah, so basically the same emotions that they shared back right after the whole Asmodeus thing, basically. So that anytime Strix holds this feather, she feels that same hug.
All right.
Provided it
crying
works. I mean, we could make him roll and see how badly he fucks it up. I mean, it could explode up into my face for all I know.
No, it just works.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there's no visible effect. It's only basically you, Dieth, who can really even sense that this has worked.
Okay.
But yeah, the feather has changed somehow. Anna?
Yes.
You've gone through much of the questionnaire now with this young Coven acolyte. Where are you at now? You've sort of grilled her quite a bit.
There are a few more questions on the test, but Evelyn kind of feels like she has a really good sense of her charge, but she wants to ask the final question on the test.
Oh, okay.
Which is, if you love someone, you should A, tell them immediately. B, tell them never. C, tell them if they tell you first. Or D, think about it for a long, long time and then probably tell them maybe.
This is a scary glimpse into a whole new world, Dirna.
Gonna roll insight to see how I react to this.
Okay.
That would be a 17.
You think this is a loaded question? Particularly because you can see Evelyn's eyes getting bigger and her attention even more rapt.
Just looks at Evelyn. Says that in order to gain acceptance in the Coven, I'm supposed to make people happy. But it seems like, based off of this question, that there is someone else in your life who probably would be the one who would be most likely to be able to make you happy, and I don't really have much authority here. I don't understand this situation. And yeah, I would say I don't know.
Oh, like answer E? Like you're adding your own answer?
Yes, witches do what they want. Thusly, I am a very good example of a witch, thusly answering E.
Oh, wow. I think that deserves extra credit.
Thank you.
Okay, that ends the written portion of the test. Now time for the practical. And Evelyn takes her sword and hacks a cut in her arm, and she's like, first aid, triage, go, practical test.
She just immediately has her medicine supplies out. And that is a natural 20 with a
Oh, excellent.
25.
Evelyn, you have never seen field work triage like this before.
Evelyn like strokes her healed arm, and she's like, I think that may be better than I could do.
You surprised me.
That was, wow. Well, you just passed with flying colors. Let's go tell Strix now. And she grabs Dirna and runs down the stairs.
She
Strix!
just drags along,
All
like
right.
trailing in the air behind her.
Dieth, you and Prolock, armed with a feather, make your way back from the market as well. Arriving coincidentally at the same time that Evelyn and Dirna rush downstairs. You can see that there's a fair measure of panic in Strix's voice that wasn't there earlier in the morning.
Oh boy.
And when you go into the kitchen, Strix and this ginormous lurch-like woman are strangling each other.
Oh, what?
Yes,
Like,
it has been reduced to this.
They're
It was just
strangling.
missing out my drawers, and all my supplies are that I the chimney. Help!
And this bigger woman is shouting, "Hire me! Hire me!"
To get to the Feywild, that really scares me. No, please, I'm getting strangled.
So Dearne sees this.
You all see this.
She'd probably go over to Strix, grab her, and then try to thunder step with her away.
Okay.
And I will cast Calm Emotions on the angry top-hatted lady.
Okay. So Dearna grabs Strix and shadows away.
No, I'm using the spell Thunder Step
Thunderstep.
because that I can bring
Yes.
someone with me.
Right. Yes. So describe that for me. You touch her basically, and then you just sort of, with a loud clap, disappear.
Yeah. Well, it's more like a boom that does 3d10 damage with a Constitution save to half.
Okay.
No, I'm in the kitchen.
She failed that, so roll your damage. And then she also failed the Calm Emotions effect, so this will be funny.
19. Dang. Okay, so that is a 25 total.
All right, so she takes all that thunder damage. She just sort of absorbs it. Is there any other effect besides the damage?
The thunder can be heard up to 300 feet away.
Oh, great. Yes.
And
Here we go again.
neighbors.
The neighbors are once again aware of your presence. And then the Calm Emotion spell takes hold of her. Is there a particular thing you're hoping to get out of that spell, Prolock?
It just said that it can make the target indifferent about creatures of your choice that it's hostile toward.
Okay.
I imagine she's like holding Strix by the neck with one arm.
Yeah. All right, so suddenly, after getting blasted and being rattled by this damage, which causes the shutters to creak and the glass to shake and things to fall off, to rattle on shelves, she suddenly becomes very, very calm. And she says, "I don't know what came over me. I'll come back tomorrow."
No.
Bye.
Yes, you do that. Please leave.
And she'll make her way toward her suitcase. She'll pick her hat up off the floor and then make her way toward her suitcase.
I'm just gonna let her
Strix
go.
just like on the ground. Like,
Yeah, you just sort of move out of the way and you let this big shambling figure in the top hat leave.
I would like to go to the door, immediately close it, shove a bunch of dirt and mulch in the door frame, put a bunch of seeds in there, and use Druidcraft to have them like a bunch of vines grow out to like seal the door shut.
Yes. Strix, while you're sort of recovering from your experience, the thing that sort of that surprised you most was when this figure suddenly had lost her temper and attacked you, because it was clear to her that you hadn't actually picked her for the job, that you saw in an instant that the illusion of who she was sort of almost shed away for an instant, and you saw her real face. And it appeared to be that of a black-haired, yellow-toothed crone wearing the skull of what looked like a bison over her head.
Holy shit!
Over her face.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
And that image sort of burned itself into your psyche. But now you see your friends are back, or rather, two of your friends are back with two of your Coven members.
Oh,
Good Hall
Evelyn.
says, I
Wait,
saved
where's-
you. You're
Where's
welcome.
Critter?
Where is
didn't make-
Critter?
Where is Critter?
Where is Critter?
So Critter, you've made it to the wall of the city onto firm, rocky ground, leaving Simon at the edge of the mud with his stilts. What do you do?
Absolutely overcome with the horror of almost being buried alive by a little robot man. He sprints to the nearest sewer entrance
Yep.
and then attempts to sprint through the sewers to the nearest exit at the Waffle House.
Okay.
Pops out of the manhole cover, runs up to the door, and just starts pounding on it relentlessly.
So
Ow!
there's a
Ow!
pounding on the door, which has all these leaves and crap stuffed around it.
What the hell happened to this door?
Courtesy of Dearna. So you're pounding on the door. Does anybody want to let him in?
Let me in!
I feel like after that, like the Strix isn't even listening to the door, and probably some kind of writing is on the outside that says the Coven is closed for today with like a smiley face.
Is there a window?
There
Yeah,
are
if I
windows.
recognize Critter's voice, I'll open a window for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
A window
Point to that.
opens, Critter,
That's
so
good.
you can
That's
scamper
not
in.
back window. Okay, yeah, I scamper in. Just completely out of breath. Quick, close the window. He'll kill us all. He's gonna kill us all.
Oh, you're talking about Simon, aren't you?
What is that thing?
Well, you
He's a
survived.
murderous psychopath.
Welcome to the Coven. All of you passed, right? Did they all pass, everyone? She's looking at Dieth and Evelyn.
Yes, with flying colors and extra credit.
Yep, passed.
Great. So,
Over at the other
welcome.
two. Hey, did you guys have to, fight, being buried alive to get through your past?
In a sense, yes.
And that's
I
where
guess
we'll.
that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's where we'll stop. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Wow.
Amazing.
All right.
You guys,
Sorry, you faded out there, Holly.
you guys did amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us. It was tremendous fun having you on the show. And my, oh my, oh my. We did not make it easy on you, that's for sure.
No.
That was fantastic.
Thank you so much. It was great.
For the record, we didn't tell Chris what our trials were.
Correct.
Aside from Nay, since he couldn't be here.
Yeah, it was the epitome of Paultondom that he wouldn't actually show up to do the trial of himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Making Simon do it was perfect.
That was good.
Crazy.
That was pretty terrifying.
Yeah. Anyway, I won't tell you what would have happened if you went to the Rock. That's gonna have to come out later.
I probably don't want to know.
Does anybody have any announcements that they want to share with the greater community before we break off for the week?
More announcements have been made about TwitchCon as of D&D News today. You may have heard that our guests are going to be Felicia Day, who
What?
you all probably know. She needs no introduction. Also, WWE superstar Xavier Woods. Also, esports superstar Malik Forte. And someone you may be familiar with as having been canonized as the Black Widow, Vivid Vivka.
The Black Viper, you mean?
Black Viper, sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
So all of them, all four, will be in our D&D show at TwitchCon. 4 guests, you might say? How are they going to accomplish that? With panache. That's how.
And a budget. Yeah.
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 That too.
Yeah,
Fair.
it's going to be great. We're getting their characters and other things sorted out. It's going to be spectacular.
And
Oh
it's
my-
going to be a 2-hour show on Sunday at TwitchCon. It's one of the last things that you can watch on the glitch stage. It's going to start at 2:30. And it's going to be on twitch.tv/twitch as well.
Is it bad that I'm scared?
Scared?
Yes.
No.
Well, now I'm scared.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. Yeah, you guys are going to love it. There may be props.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh, boy.
Any other announcements?
Am I actually able to plug the panels that I have at PAX Unplugged?
Oh yeah, that's a ways off, but go ahead.
Yeah, I actually am put together 2 panels at PAX Unplugged, which are historical and visual transgender representation in RPGs, with panelists myself, Grant Ellis, Nemetic, Shauna Nakasone, Curtis Beck, and Allison Dillon Robinson, which that is on Saturday? Yeah, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. at the Leviathan Theater. If you're there, please come by, check it out. And on Sunday, we have the Tale of the Years, the evolution of lore in Dungeons and Dragons, where we basically just are a bunch of nerds discussing Dungeons and Dragons lore. With myself, Grant Ellis again,
Time
Jim
well spent.
Davis. Yes, Jim Davis of WebDM, Medea Zimmer, who you might know. She's a mod in this channel, does a bunch of D&D streamings, and Jonathan Pruitt from WebDM as well.
Oh, very cool.
I'll be at the Portland Retro Game Expo, October 20th, 21st? Yeah, 20th and 21st in Portland, Oregon. That's a week, not this coming weekend, but the next. And always the Dice Camera Action subreddit. Be sure to go there for all the fun discussion and fan art. And if you get fan art and tag it properly, you can see it on the stream before the show, which is also super cool. So I'll spam that link.
There's been some really good ones lately that are real sad.
I've been too busy to look, but I'll have to go take a look now.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Nathan wanted to be here, but of course Nathan is out on tour, paid in exposure. He is he was on a flight at the time this game was happening, so he has no doubt landed and is going to be performing his heart out. Go to natewantstobattle.com if you want to see what cities he's visiting when.
New Jersey, DC, Atlanta, and Orlando. Oh my goodness.
Well, there we have it. Jared's got it memorized. And
what? I'm not as big as
and so he wanted to be here but couldn't because of that. But he is with us in spirit. And we will be back next week for another wacky show of Dice Camera Action. Until then, take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you then. And thanks again to our guest stars. You guys were terrific.
Yay!
Yay!
You guys were fantastic. Thank you.
So fun.
Thanks, a lot of fun.
That's right. That's right. And who knows? We may see them again.
Yeah. Make sure you guys tell me your addresses too after the game, because I'm going to send you an apron,
Nice.
one of the
Awesome.
Strix aprons,
Yes.
for being part of the Coven.
For enduring this hour and 45 minutes of brutal harassment. All right. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.